Welcome. This is Money Heart, where we explore the emotional side of money. I'm Camille Diaz, and today we're discussing Moneyology, the psychology of money. My guest is Salt Garrison. He's a human behavioral expert, and he works with people around their mindset. Salt, welcome to Money Heart.
Camille, thank you so much for having me today. I really, really appreciate being on your program. I'm excited.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited too. So Moneyology is a really cool word. I really like that. What the heck does it mean?
Great question. So Moneyology, so it's a term that I created. I coined it myself. And it's about, so Moneyology is about understanding the psychology and the relationship that we have with money. So for years and years, I have worked as a specialist in conflict solution and personal empowerment. And when we look at conflict that people have, for example, with couples, one of the things that couples conflict about is around money. And even as individuals, we have conflicts within ourselves about money. It's what keeps us stuck. It's why we're not increasing our income, or why we're so overwhelmed with debt. So several years ago, I started in this research and this study of money and what's the psychology behind it? What's the relationship that we have with it? And started putting these big pieces together and created this program called Moneyology. So that's Moneyology.
I love it. That is so cool. And it's such a great name and such a good fit for what you're working on. So you mentioned this conflict with couples, and you mentioned us stopping ourselves from earning what we say we want.
Yes.
Tell us more about that and how we get into that trap, and maybe how we can get out of it.
You bet. You bet. So here's a great exercise. So I'm gonna jump into an exercise because it's actually easier to demonstrate than it is to explain.
Okay, I will play.
So if I said, all right, Camille, I have $5 million for you. And here's the deal. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. And you need to write down all the actions that you're going to take with that $5 million, right? Any action that you don't have written down, right, you don't get money for.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to give you 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Got it.
Okay. Are you done? You got all your actions.
Yep.
Awesome. And I think that was like 8 seconds. You're quick.
Nice. Fast writer.
Now, what I know about you is that you have a heart for finances and helping empowering people in their finances.
Yes.
So I have asked this question. So I've done this exercise with people many, many, many times. And what I ask people is, so first off, raise your hand if you want to be financially independent. You want to be financially free.
Yep, both hands.
Exactly. Every hand goes up, right? And then I ask people, okay, so put your hands down and now raise your hand if you actually are financially free. And it's only a smattering of hands that actually go up.
Right.
And it's like, what's the deal? What's the problem? Right? And part of it actually might be what's on that page right now.
Okay.
So would you like to share?
I will.
You might be an exception, but would you like to share like your top 3, top 4 that you have written down?
I wrote one thing down. I wrote all the things I want to do.
I love it.
I'm practicing for when I find the genie in the bottle. I don't want to screw up my one wish.
I love it. So typically what people will write, right? And there are no wrong answers. I want to make sure I'm really clear about that. There's no wrong answers. But typically what people write down is, like they'll say, okay, I'm going to pay off my bills, and I want to buy a new house, and I want to buy a new car, and I want to, help my parents or my kids or,
Yes.
somebody, right? And the deal is this. So if you don't have saving and investing money in the top 3-4 answers, you might not have a mindset around building wealth. We have a mindset about spending, but we don't have a mindset about creating and building wealth.
Sure.
And it's that mindset that starts to make all the difference.
Yeah.
So I'll give you another example, if I may.
Okay. So
we hear all the time about money talks, right? Money talks, we've heard that. So what's it say? So I'm going to teach you what money says, okay?
I love this. I'm excited. Slightly nervous, also excited.
So here's the exercise. So it's a fill in the blank, and you get 1, maybe 2 words at the most to fill in the blank, okay?
Okay.
So to me, money means blank.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So what'd you write down?
I wrote down choices.
Choices.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right.
And then you gave me the option to write 2, so then I wrote freedom. But they kind of go together in my head. They're pretty much the same thing.
Yep. Awesome. Now, imagine this. So imagine if someone said, to me, money means security.
Okay.
If money means security, that person is probably going to spend, save, use their money differently than, for example, the person who says, to me, money means entertainment.
Right? Yes.
So the security person is probably going to hold on a little bit tighter to their money. They're going to be a little bit more thoughtful, maybe a little bit more intentional, maybe look at those investments or look at how to save their money, how to keep it more safe. The entertainment person is going to go, wow, all right, where can I travel to? What concerts can I go to? What experiences can I have? Like, how can I have more fun?
Sure.
All right. So this one question, to me, money means blank, is what I call a money directive. What you believe about money and what it means to you will start to direct your thoughts, your behaviors, your attitudes towards money and what you do with it.
Yep, it absolutely will.
Right? So when we look at like performance psychology, when we look at neuroscience, and we go, all right, so I'm going to kind of reverse engineer this. So we get an outcome, right? Here's an outcome that we have, or an outcome that we want. So I was trying to think of a good example. All of a sudden, I can't think of a good example, but it'll come to me here in a moment. So we have an outcome, and say it's something like I want to save, or I want to have certain amount of money in the bank.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So say I want to have $30,000 in the bank.
Okay.
Awesome. So in neuroscience, we go, all right, so what are outcomes based on? Outcomes are actually based on your habits, the things that you do over and over and over again.
Right.
We don't eat one big Big Mac, right, and have a heart attack. Right. It's doing it over and over and over again. Or one cigarette doesn't lead necessarily to lung cancer.
Right.
It's what are the habits that you have?
Yes.
Right? And then we go, okay, well, where do habits come from? Right? Well, habits are just behaviors that are repeated over and over again. So behaviors lead to habits, and habits lead to outcomes. So then where do our behaviors come from? Again, we look at neuroscience, we look at psychology, and our behavior comes from our thoughts. Right. Okay. So your thoughts are going to lead to your outcomes. And people have said this for years and years, like hundreds of years now, and even more than that. Change your thoughts, you'll change your life.
Yeah.
And there's these amazing books on it, right?
Uh-huh.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill back in, I think, like 1932 or something like that.
Something like that, yep.
Even before him, James Allen wrote As a Man Thinketh.
Mm-hmm.
There's The Power of Positive Thinking, right? So there's all of these books and all of this about thoughts and going, okay, now more modernly, we're going, where do those thoughts come from? And your thoughts actually come from your beliefs. What is it that you believe? That will lead to what you think about, which leads to your behaviors, which leads to your habits, which leads to an outcome.
There you go.
Okay. So one of the pieces when I work with folks is I really start to, and I want to explore what their beliefs, what their true beliefs about money are, because that's a big block, is the beliefs.
Right.
So does this make sense? And I'm going to give you another exercise.
Totally makes sense, because whatever, and in fact, that's what we've been discovering with this show too, is so many people have talked about the example they saw in the past and whether they continued to follow that example because they liked it, or they did a total 180 because they said, I'm not doing that. And so whatever way, it formed that really strong belief system for them, and that's been guiding them ever since.
Yep, exactly. And most of our beliefs are established by the time that we're about 6 years old. And they are typically adopted from the people who had the biggest influence on us at that time. And I'll give you a different example apart from money, but we're going to do a money example here in just a moment. So if you take the American flag, right, and show people the American flag, how you were raised and where you were raised is going to have an impact about what you believe that flag symbolizes. Some people are going to look at that and go, oh my gosh, I'm very patriotic, and that's just amazing, and it's about freedom and liberty, right? And other people are going to look at that and go, oh my gosh, that is a sign of meanness and horrible, and right? And we do the same in the United States. We look at other flags, right? Other countries, sometimes other people, right? And we go, oh, right? And it's like, where did that come from? What happens is that most people don't even explore where their beliefs about money come from. So one of the exercises that I do with folks is I have a list of about 12 to 16 different words. And they're words like save or invest, charity, the rich, for example. And then I ask them just to write down 2 or 3 words that come to mind right away with each one of those words. So let's do one. So we're going to do the rich. Okay. And you can give me honest answers, or you can. Or
I can make it up and save myself.
I don't want you to out yourself too much. Okay. So, and this is another piece. So actually, I'm going to step over here for just a moment. Okay. What I find is that so many people have shame and embarrassment about their finances. And a lot of people would rather talk about their sexual history than they would their financial history. So I recognize that. And it's just one of those areas where we're like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed, or I'm not sure. And actually going, where did that come from? Right. And that typically, again, is a historic, generational belief, mentality towards money. Right? Yes. But let's do the rich. So what's 2 or 3 words?
2 or 3 words on the rich. Okay. And I would say that happens all the time. It takes a while of me building a relationship with somebody before we can have an honest discussion about their finances and what they want to do and how we're going to set things up, because they really want to hold back and not share everything, not tell everything. Well, let's see about, maybe we'll trust her with this piece and then find out what happens from there. All the time like that. It makes it really hard to come up with a good overall plan, but it's just developing that trust relationship for a while.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll stop forwarding getting over to the rich here. So the rich, what am I coming up with? Some words that come to mind?
What's 2 or 3 words that come to mind to describe the rich? Just right off the bat. Don't think about it. Just like, what's the very top? Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, well, so far I've got fancy, which
Okay.
I don't even know why, because when I picture rich people, I don't necessarily picture fancy, but that's what came to mind.
Okay.
And then I have secure as
Okay.
my next one. And if I
love
have to pick a third one, I'd probably say generational.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So some people have kind of like what you said. So it might be like fancy, well off, right? Other people put down like lucky, fortunate.
Sure.
Right. Some people go, hardworking, dedicated, whatever that might be, right? Also, what I also get sometimes is that they're mean or they take advantage, right? Or they're selfish.
Yeah.
They're elitist. Right?
Yeah.
If I told you, Camille, if I said, hey, Camille, I got this great program or I got this great idea for you, right? It's going to make you selfish and you're going to take advantage of people, right? And it's going to be all about you. Are you interested in that?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Sound awesome.
Yeah. And that's how our brains work towards wealth. If you have a belief that rich people are mean and selfish and taking advantage, your brain, your thinking is going to block you from having greater wealth because you don't want to be that.
Right. Yep.
And so that's part of the psychology, and that's part of the underlying psychology that most people don't realize is playing out in their financial decisions.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm not going to let myself turn into something I don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. And then when we get, like I said, I have this 12, 16 words. And when you do a bunch of those, then you start to see the themes. So we have a money directive that directs a lot of our thinking and our beliefs, again, about money. And again, beliefs leading to thinking to behavior to outcome, behavior to habits to outcomes, right? So we really look at what's that money directive, what's that belief about money, and that's what money says, by the way. Money talks. What's it say? Anything you tell it to.
Funny how that works. Yeah. You get to pick all the words and write your own story, huh?
And then if we have a belief that being wealthy or that the wealthy are bad or horrible in some form or fashion, again, it's just another unconscious, subconscious, which I put together and I call it non-conscious decision that we've made. And it's a non-conscious barrier that we have to greaher wealth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That is so cool. Yes, it is so interesting. Now I'm rethinking, okay, what sort of words do I use when describing money? What do I use when describing people who are rich? How am I thinking? Yeah, I've got lots to ponder this evening. So if we go through this and kind of figure this out, how do we change our thinking? Because we just learned that started way early on, and so we've been practicing it presumably for a number of years.
Yep.
Doesn't seem like an easy fast switch, but maybe it is. What are a couple of things that we can do if we want to make that story different, if we would like to rewrite?
Yep. So on a level of psychology, on a level of human behavior, if you don't value you, others won't value you. And that is true financially, it's true relationally, it's true physically, it's true even in your vocation, in your job, your career. Vocationally, it's true. So one of the best exercises that I know is to start to increase and start to see and appreciate and acknowledge your unique form of value.
Love it.
So, and again, because the more that you start to value you, then the more others will start to value you. Right. And you won't settle. You'll start to go, no, I'm worth more, right? Yeah. Let me ask you this. Would you say that it's fair and equitable exchange if I paid you $1 an hour for your job, for what you do?
No.
No. Okay. Would I say that it's fair and equitable exchange to pay you $350,000 an hour for what you do?
Well, I like that, but it's probably a bit much. An hour? I wouldn't have to work very many hours a year. That'd be awesome. But it's probably a bit much for an hour.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't take it if somebody offered that. I'd be like, what is it we're doing for this hour? Do I have to help you bury a body? Really? Because who else have you talked to about this situation? I'm thinking it over.
Yeah. So it's fair to say, and again, this is something that we all non-consciously do. So we've created a basement for ourselves, a minimum amount that we're willing to make. Mm-hmm. And then we've also created a ceiling for ourselves, a maximum amount that we perceive that we're worth. And so the value exercise and actually going, all right, how am I valuable in all areas of life? So spiritually, how am I valuable? Mentally, in my job? Financially, how am I valuable financially right now? In my family, how am I valuable? Socially, physically. So in all 7 areas of life, and start to literally list out what makes you valuable. Mm-hmm. So that you can start to see more of your own value. So that's, for me, that's one of the very first pieces. So
that's awesome.
In my program, and we won't have time right now, but in my program, then we also face Fred.
Okay, I love it. Yes. Right? Do you want to briefly intro what Fred is? Yes. Because then we'll tell people how to find your program. Because I know we do need to wrap up for today. So this is cool. What's Fred?
So Fred, F-R-E-D. All right. So stands for, what are your fears? Because your fears are blocking you from wealth. I get a lot of people going, I'm afraid of success, or I'm afraid, right? You're really not. It's actually different than that. But what are your fears? What are the results that you've gotten? Because the results that you've gotten, again, to reinforce your beliefs. Mm-hmm. All right. So FR, and then the E's, there's actually 3 E's, which are, what are your experiences? What are your expectations of money? And then what are your emotions?
That's a lot in those E's.
Yeah, there is.
That's a lot.
Big, right?
Yeah.
So, and then D is desires.
Okay.
And what are your desires? So that's the other piece. So we look at values, and then you got to face Fred. And there's skills and strategies for each one of those areas on how to change and develop a different mindset so that you're open to creating. It's not just about receiving, right? It's also, I have to give. It's not like, oh, okay, I have all kinds of value, now people are just going to pay me. No, you got to go out and you got to earn, you got to create, you got to do, right? There's the law of giving and receiving. You have to give in order to get.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of little quick tips, if you will.
That is so awesome. Thank you. This has been a joy to have you on today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate the opportunity for sure. Yeah.
You're very welcome. If anybody wants to find out more about Moneyology, you can do that at saltmoneyology.com. So that's SaltMoneyOLOGY.com. And you can also email Salt at saltcoaching.net. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. I'm your host, Camille Diaz. This show is sponsored by Serenity Financial, a 5 Rings financial agency. specializing in financial education, living benefits, and guaranteed lifetime income. Salt, would you like to share today's money mantra, since it is one that you personally came up with?
It is, and this is my money. Mantra, which is, my finances are in order, with my income growing and my debt dissolving.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate the time.